Yeah, there seems to be this mindset of just going along with the public, or going along with public opinion, because the more people believe it's true, the more truthful it is. And I think men need to have some type of a inner focal point.
Yeah.
What you just said reminds me of a story I once heard when I was very young. My teacher told me, and for the life of me, I can't remember what he told me, but he basically said that one of the punishments of prison is what's it called? What was it called when they seclude the guy from all the other?
Yeah, solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement. He said that there was a prison once considered very brutal, and they keep men in solitary confinement for very arbitrary reasons, and they'd keep them for months and months at a time, and quite often the
Years.
men the men would go insane. The men would come out. They'd be they wouldn't be the same men again. And one particular man was put in this was put in solitary confinement. It was completely dark. When I mean solitary confinement, there was no light, so there was no window, anything. So they was put in
Mm.
this room for months at a time. I think it's called sensory uh,
Deprivation. Yeah.
deprivation, and they'd come out insane. And this one man knew that what was going to happen, and he had with him it was a button of a pin or something, and they put him in solitary confinement. And for 1 month, how he would keep himself sane is he would take this button and he'd throw it somewhere in the room, and then he'd spend his time trying to find it. And he did this for a month to keep
Yeah.
himself occupied. And I
Yeah.
think similarly, men, you need to find a focal point. You need to get yourself off this trail of insanity. And I think it is making men insane. I think
Well,
men are.
let's look at that. I mean, if I was put in solitary, I think I would go sane. I think I would lose all of the insanity that's been instilled in me. I mean, this world is not sane. It's just an artificial construct. If you look at it, most of it is bullshit. Whatever we create, we become. So, do you lose touch with reality? I mean, if you're put in isolation for years, that old cliched term, lose touch with reality or going insane. Who's to say what you had before you were locked away was reality anyway? Who's to say that is um, sanity? Who's to say that is the way you were supposed to be? And I know what you mean. I mean, men need to occupy their mind to remain um, focused on their own existence, to have some reason to carry on. That there was a documentary I watched about a guy who was kidnapped, and he was held in a box for 6 months, and they just piped in this fucking music, trying to drive him mad, and they shot him a couple of times and sent pictures to his wife trying to get this ransom. But they said to him, "How did you keep from going mad?" And he said, "I tidied up every day." Now, how do you tidy up a box the size of a refrigerator that's just lined with carpet? And he said he tidied up all the hairs from previous hostages. So, he even found a way of tidying up a cell made of carpet just by picking up different colored hairs from all the people that had been there. And he did that every day to keep his mind occupied.
That's
It's
excellent. That's an excellent example, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Now, for those of you that lack imagination and can't see what me and Messenger are trying to say, we're saying you're surrounded by stories, by music, by movies, by this narrative that you need a woman, that you need sex, that you need to dress a certain way, to talk a certain way. You need to be subscribed to Bearings. You need to be watching PewDiePie, and we're saying if you don't have something else to focus on, you'll always be doing what everybody else is doing. That
very
is,
quickly.
yeah,
Let me I just wrote down groupthink, and that's the reason why we come to MGTOW, because we do not want to buy into this social conditioning. We do not want to be pre-programmed disposable drones. We don't want to be like that. We don't want to adopt that mindset. So when you come into MGTOW, the last thing you want to do is adopt this groupthink and become one of many, become part of this congealed group of men who have to be a certain way. And I'm not saying, you know, you can just be anything and call yourself MGTOW. I'm not saying that. But you have to operate as an individual. You can't rely on the group because you're just forming another attachment. You've moved away from the attachment and the addiction and the dependency on women, and you've moved to another one. You know, you're dependent on this group and you have to identify as MGTOW, and you'll fight to your last breath for the right to be called MGTOW. Fuck all that. You know, who are you? Who are you? You know, who are you? Where are you going? What's in your future? What are you going to create that is so different from the blue pill man?